Hello everybody and welcome to, well, it used to be the weekly countdown and I haven't done this for a couple of weeks. So we're going to try and get back on track. We're going to look at the popular titles in Japan. Now we're going to go all the way back to the week of March 4th to the 10th of 2019. And well, I'm going to do a couple of these over the next couple of days to try and get at least a little bit closer to being all caught up. So I'll shut up and we'll get on with the list. At number 10, with 5,154 copies sold, volume number 4 of Wolf and Parchment. This one, the sequel to Spice and Wolf. It is licensed for English release by Yen On, who of course has released Spice and Wolf as well. The young man Cole dreams of one day joining the holy clergy and departs on a journey from the bathhouse, the Spice and Wolf Inn, owned by his savior, Lawrence. The Winfiel Kingdom's prince has invited him to help correct the sins of the church, but as his travels begin, Cole discovers in his luggage a young girl with a wolf's ears and tail named Miyuri, who stowed away for the ride. In the past, Cole had accompanied the wise wolf Holo and the traveling merchant Lawrence on their own wanderings, eventually growing up alongside their daughter, Miyuri, as siblings. But as Cole prepared to set off, Miyuri opposed his departure, and so she secretly ran away from home to join him. This is the story of Wolf and Parchment, and the pair's travels that will someday change the world. I kind of like the whole change the world aspect. As much as I've only read the first volume of Spice and Wolf, so I really don't know a lot about that story. But given that it seems to have ended with Holo and Lawrence having a relatively relaxed life running an inn, it's kind of interesting now that the sequel is they're going to change the world. It sounds like maybe the author has a bit more of an epic story in mind for these new main characters. I'm not too sure. I know that a couple of you are fans of the series. Let me know in the comments down below. At number 9, with 5,212 copies sold, volume number 4 of Maou Gakuin no Futekigousha. We do not have an English license for the light novels. After 2,000 years has passed, the ruthless demon lord has just been reincarnated, but his aptitude at an academy for nurturing candidates for demon lords is, quote, inept? Having the capability to destroy humans, elementals, and gods, after a long period of countless wars and strife, Arnos, the demon lord, became sick and tired of all that and longed for a peaceful world, so he decided to reincarnate into the future. However, what awaited him after his reincarnation is a world too used to peace, that his descendants have become too weak due to a huge weakening in their magical powers. Arnos enrolled in the Maou Academy, established to find any students that might be the Demon Lord's reincarnation, but his powers are too extraordinary that those in the Academy couldn't properly judge his powers. So he's regarded as being inept. Being underestimated and avoided by most people there, he recruited a girl friendly to him, Misha, as his subordinate and comrade, and strives to climb to the top of the demon race hierarchy to one day reclaim his former title and status. So, again, it's sort of like, kind of that whole spin on the reincarnation thing. This actually has been on the list before. You know what? The one thing that I have a question about it is, if you didn't really want to be the Demon Lord any longer, why the hell are you in an academy to try and become the Demon Lord again? I just don't get it. My thinking is that it's because he finds out that, like, his people have had such a bad backward slide that he thinks, well, I'm just going to have to become Demon Lord again to kind of raise them up. That's my guess. I have no idea because it's not available in English, so I have no idea. So if you're familiar with this one, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. At number 8, with 6,329 copies sold, volume number 18 of Honzuki no Gekokujou, or, as we know it better in English, Ascendance of a Bookworm. Now, what's kind of cool about this is that because I haven't recorded this video for a little while, is that between the time that this was in the top 10 and now, this has been officially licensed by J-Novel Club. And yes, they are putting it out in digital in May, so like just actually in a couple weeks. But they are going to be releasing a print edition as well. If I recall, it's going to be September that the print edition will be released. So kind of at least inadvertently cool that I put off talking about this one so that I could say, hey, it's actually been licensed. And there's going to be an anime along with this one as well, too. So apparently Sam was saying that the decision to have the anime of this one kind of was what prompted him to take a risk and put it out in print, even though he doesn't know what the e-book sales are going to be like yet. So, in any case, a certain college girl who's loved books ever since she was a little girl dies in an accident and is reborn in another world she knows nothing about. She is now Maine, the sickly 5-year-old daughter of a poor soldier. To make things worse, the world she's been reborn in has a very low literacy rate and books mostly don't exist. She'd have to pay an enormous amount of money to buy one. Maine resolves herself. If there aren't any books, she'll just have to make them. Her goal is to become a librarian. This story begins with her quest to make books so she can live surrounded by them. Dive into this biblio-fantasy written for book lovers and bookworms. I'm actually really looking forward to checking this one out. It has been the top of the tankobon list of Kono light novel ga sugoi for the past 2 years. I don't know if it was is it the translator? I think it's actually the manga. Is it the manga translator that was reading it and posting on Twitter? Anyway, one of the guys on Twitter that I follow, who I know is a translator, was talking about, he was reading the light novels and was talking about how awesome and engrossing they were. And I've heard from so many. I know there's a number of you that have been reading them. I think Zephyrus, have you been reading them in actual Japanese? I don't know, but I know one of you, every single time I mention this one in the top 10, is like, this is an amazing series. And I'm really looking forward to being able to finally check this out. The only thing that I'm debating with myself now, though, is do I have it in May, an ebook, or do I wait till September and buy the print edition? As much as I would like to get on board and read this right away, given how much stuff is coming out, I think I might wait and have this one in print, because I don't know, somehow a series about creating books, and apparently part of it is like even her sourcing out like binding and paper and everything else. I don't know, man. Maybe that's just kind of the story you want to have in actual book format. I think it seems kind of appropriate, and yeah, so I'll probably review this one when it comes out in print in September. At number 7, with 6,379 copies sold, volume number 6 of Saikyou no Kanteishi, Te Dare no Koto, or Who is the Strongest Appraiser? We have no license for these light novels. Yuri Kugimiya is a high school student who was transferred to another world and got the strongest cheat of appraisal system. Protected from adventurers by adventurers and in charge of cooking with their agito. Using your own arms and skills, you can grab everyone's stomach with food and push on a different world slow life. You gotta love these really brutal, probably translated by Google type synopsis. In any case, I know that this one's been on the list before. We have talked about it before. And the whole idea, I believe, is that he's using his cheat ability, the whole appraisal thing, to appraise ingredients and then creating meals. And so therefore, because his cooking is so delicious, these adventurers kind of take him under their wing and protect him. And, you know, because they want him to make them great food. I don't know if it gets into the whole sort of like nutrition thing, or whether it gets into like maybe there's special benefits because he's able to check out these ingredients. I don't know if it goes to that level, but as far as I know, that's sort of the gist of this series. If you know any more about it and you want to throw that in the comments, go right ahead. At number 6, with 8,127 copies sold, volume number 2 of Kage no Jitsuryokusha ni Naritakute, or To Be a Power in the Shadows. We do not have an English license for these light novels. Just like how everyone adored heroes in their childhood, a certain young man adored those powers hidden in shadows. After hiding his strength and living the mediocre life of a mob character by day, while undergoing frenzied training by night, he finally reincarnates into a different world and gains ultimate power. The young man who is only playing at being a power in the shadows, his misunderstanding subordinates, and a giant organization in the shadows that gets trampled. This is the story of a young boy who had adored powers in shadows, possibly eventually reigning over the world of shadows in another world. I like the what? I think they're talking like assassins. Are they talking, or like that's kind of the gist I get is they're talking about assassins. That's I think we talked about this one before because I seem to remember the whole mob thing we were talking about. But yeah, I just I don't know much about this series. Obviously, it's only a second volume, so I mean it's a newer series. Like I said, I believe volume number 1 was on this. We talked a little bit about it. I don't remember much of what we talked about other than I think it was a whole assassin thing. But again, you know what? Let me know in the comments down below because I really need to. If you're watching this, does anybody know of like a really good, easy like database app that I could enter this kind of stuff on? I've been looking high and low, and every description I read just never seems to really fit what I need it to do. Like, I need to be able to put in my own stuff and alphabetize it and everything else. If you got any hints about that, let me know, because that would make this a lot easier, because then I could keep all of my notes, including all of your notes and everything. Right now, I just have literally, how many of these videos have I done now? Like probably like 70, 80 of them. And I just have Word files that I have to try and search and remember what week I did it and covered it and everything else. And that's why these things take so long. So in any case, if you have any knowledge of that, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. And I'm a Mac user, if that helps, because I'm sure there's probably more options for Windows users. So yeah, what can I tell you? Number 4, with 8,770 copies sold, Shosetsu Eiga Doraemon Nobita no Getsuman tansa-ki, or Doraemon the Movie 2019 Nobita's Chronicle of the Moon Exploration. Sweet Lord, Doraemon's been on this list a lot, and I can tell you honestly, I've started putting together the list for like the next couple of weeks to try and get caught up, and man, Doraemon keeps on hanging on. Like, dang, that franchise is popular. This is obviously just the novelization of the latest Doraemon movie, and I've talked about it so much, and honestly, based on the comments, nobody really cares. So let's just move on. At number 3, with 10,927 copies sold, volume number 2 of Zoku Kono Subarashi Sakai ni Bakuen wo, or Continued Gifting This Wonderful World with Explosions, volume number 2. So it's a Konosuba spin-off, obviously, and the second you mention the word explosions, well, you all know that it's going to be Megumin who is starring in this one. Now, this one's actually The spin-off focuses on the activities of Megumin, Union, and Alice during the time frame between volumes 8 and 9 of the main series. It says Megumin, inspired by a mysterious masked thief, forms a chivalrous thieving group for the sake of the people. So essentially what this says is that you should read volumes 1 to 9 of the main series and both of the previous spin-offs before you start reading this one. So it's going to be a wait. I'm trying to think if volume 9's come out in English yet. I think I'm that far behind. I know I have volume 7 and I know volume 8 I'm pretty sure is out. But in any case, we're almost to that point in the English of the main series, but we don't have the spin-offs in English at this point, so that's kind of a moot point, but it's a pretty popular series. I wouldn't be surprised now that we're kind of getting further ahead in the English releases that we might start seeing these things pop up from Yen. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed, because Konosuba is just a really entertaining series. At number 2, with 14,227 copies sold, it's volume number 22 of A Certain Magical Index, New Testament. Yes, this one, of course, the follow-up to A Certain Magical Index. I can't tell you a heck of a lot about it because it will spoil the hell out of A Certain Magical Index. Although I guess the 3rd season's over and it covered the entirety of A Certain Magical Index, so maybe it's not spoilers anymore for you to figure out where the 2nd series goes. But in any case, there has been no word yet on this getting licensed. I would not be surprised. I'm trying to think of where we are in the English releases of Index. I mean, we're pretty high up there now. Wouldn't surprise me if either later this year, or very early next year we hear about this series getting licensed. Finally, at number 1, with 21,715 copies sold, volume number 16 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. This one we do have licensed for English release by Yen On. Sato, an adult programmer, suddenly noticed that he was thrown into another world wearing casual clothes at level 1. He gained a high level and many treasures after using the 3 times used disposable magic Meteor Shower once. After that, he intends to do another world sightseeing tour. He meets 3 Beastkin girls, beautiful purple and black-haired sisters, and an eccentric blonde-haired elf girl, along with various people during his trip. Although occasionally fighting demons and demon lords, this is a heartwarming fantasy story. So yes, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. And you know what's really interesting is that the anime seemed to be received very mediocre in English-speaking world, and yet the light novel keeps doing very, very well, like hitting number 1, staying on the list for at least another week or 2 afterwards in Japan. Very popular series there, but I guess the anime just didn't do it justice. I've only read the first volume. It's one of those series that I keep saying, I should read more of it, because I hear that it actually gets even better, but you've got to get through, like, what did somebody say to me? The first 3 volumes, and then volume 4 is where it really sort of picks up, and you kind of, that's where the hook you point is. And I've only read volume 1, so obviously I didn't get to the hook you point. But it's kind of funny to me that this series is just so popular in Japan, and yet it's not a series you hear a lot about in English, you know? And like I said, even the anime didn't seem to really kick up a lot of action other than people angry because it had slavery in it. I really just heard a lot about anger and mediocrity. That seemed to be the 2 things that I heard most about in regards to the Death March anime, which seems too bad because, like I said, apparently later volumes get really good, and, well, I mean, you can't really complain too much about its sales numbers in Japan, that was for sure. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Mitchell Von Regen, Yun, Renzaz, Kyle Block, and Shotaku for their support on Patreon, as well as all the support of my patrons who just help to keep this channel going and keep me motivated to keep on coming back to talk to all about light novels. So those are the top 10 light novels for March 4th to the 10th of 2019. Like I said, I'm going to try and pump a couple of these out real quick in the next couple of days to at least get a little bit closer to getting caught up, and then, you know, hopefully eventually get back to doing these on a weekly basis. So yeah, look for those. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.